Hello, this is Mark. I like to call myself Agent Awesomes, and I'm broadcasting live from here, from Florida. I am live right now, and this is a series that I'm having called Tea With. And I'll be having a conversation with ordinary people like yourself, having tea. But right now, I'm having iced tea. So, it's normally I'll be having a cup of tea, iced tea or hot tea, and having a conversation with somebody. So right now, I'm with Naya. Naya is in the reasonable programs that Tom Cassidy has. And, a question that I like to ask my friend Naya is, Naya,
Yes.
tell me about intuition.
Intuition. That's an easy one for me because I think about it so often. It's both easy to sort of pinpoint and hard to describe at the same time. It's one of those things where if you have a decision to make, there may be, people may tell you what to do. You may think what you're supposed to do. All of those things are not your intuition. Those are sort of external influences. Your intuition is sort of when you can strip away all of the messages that you're getting from the outside, all of the expectations and the chatter, the script, as we call it, and basically just listen to your own body. And when I say body, I don't necessarily mean the physical body, but that's part of it, obviously. But just your whole integrated self, which includes your connection with the rest of the universe, the rest of humanity, the rest of everything. So that's, obviously I could probably say more, but that's at base level, that's what I think of when I think of intuition.
Okay. So, Naya, something came up over here.
Mm-hmm.
What does witness consciousness mean to you?
Witness consciousness. So I'm thinking witness could mean a couple of things. Witness could simply mean looking at, watching something. But witness has also been used to mean like you can give witness, I suppose, I think is the phrase, when you speak to something that you're connected to. So witness consciousness, what's consciousness? Oh my goodness. So basically, I guess I don't know if that's a personal thing or a more general thing, but I think it's being able to connect with a larger collective. So in other words, you could think of it in terms of all humans, all animals, or something like this, or the whole planet, or the whole universe. There are these connections, and I think the best way to think of those connections is energy, because when it comes right down to it, we're all just different manifestations of energy. So a consciousness is those connections that have, some form of life imbued within them. And that witnessing it is simply noticing, being aware of, being connected to that larger web of connections and interactions.
Okay. That's, Naya, you're very deep. Very insightful. So tell me about wind.
Wind, like earth, wind, and fire kind of thing?
Wind. W-I-N-D. What does wind mean to you?
Well, wind, it's one of the elements. It's wind is the air rushing through the trees, the leaves blowing. Wind is my dog chasing after leaves blowing in the wind. It's carefree. It's fresh. It's cleansing. It's It's movement. I mean, it's not just movement of gases. It's movement in general. It's this sort of the dynamic nature of everything, but specifically of the air. It's also, I mean, wind is powerful. It can be something as calm as a gentle breeze in the early morning or something, and then it can be this just potent, powerful force that becomes, a cyclone, a tornado. It comes with a storm, a hurricane, and can cause destruction. Which, I guess that is, I think of things in general as being cyclical. And so, going from one end of the spectrum to the other and then back around again, that's a cycle. So there's this cycle, this movement of air, and it can be gentle or it can be harsh, it can be warm or it can be cool. That's what you get from me for wind.
Well, no, you're describing yourself.
Oh, wow.
That's how you describe. What does philosophy have to do with Naya? Philosophy.
Philosophy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was a little kid, we still have a lot of books, and a lot of those books are philosophical in some nature or another. And so, reading has always been a big thing for me. It's sort of how I connect with something that I can't really describe. And I connect with other people, obviously the people who wrote the books, but not just those people, because a lot of the times it could be somebody, it could be a historical account, or it could be, an essay or something like this. But through those words, you're connecting with so many other stories, because ultimately anything that we write or anything we say is influenced by all those things that we read or people we talk to. And so all of those connections, they sort of get pulled into the words on the page. And so that's sort of how I connect with books and reading. Now, of course, you asked me about philosophy, which is, for me, it's sort of a way of teasing apart some of the fundamental questions that we all ask in one way or another about existence and reality in particular, but also language, the nature of the mind, ethics, values, what are the important value systems. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different really insightful messages from the ancients, the old ones, the philosophers of old. And one of my favorite lines comes from Heraclitus, and Heraclitus of I've forgotten. Well, anyway, basically the saying is, no man ever steps in the same river twice. No man, no woman, so no person, whatever. Basically meaning that, everything changes. In every moment, things are changing. I am not the same person that I was at the beginning of this call. I'm just fundamentally not the same person. My cells have changed. The whole whoever this is just not the same person. And yet, for some sort of, in order to sort of create some structure within which to perceive the world, we kind of think of ourselves as being one entity. That has its usefulness, but I think it's also useful to be reminded that that's not necessarily the case.
Naya.
Yeah.
Are you floating right now?
Kinda.
It feels like it. Now, what does, something that came up also quite a lot is, what does journey have to do with you? Like, why journey? What's journey?
Oh, that's interesting. Journey does come up a lot with me.
Yes.
Because I was asked at work, I was asked to do, a really good friend of mine, she started this series called Spiritual Journeys. So basically, faculty, staff, and students are asked to share their spiritual journey, which can mean whatever it means to them. And so I was asked to do one of those. But then another friend of mine, she started a different series called Political Journey. And so I was asked to do one of those. And it's been, just hearing other people's stories, never mind having the opportunity to share mine, it's just been absolutely fascinating and just inspiring. But for me, journey is, the thing is, journey sounds like, it sounds like the rock band, but aside from that, journey sounds like one of those, like it's linear. Like you journey from point A to point B, you journey from the East Coast to the West Coast. It's usually used, it's often used in this sort of linear way. I, however, follow those who don't see it that way, that the journey, if you will, of your life, while it can be thought of as birth to death, it's really more of, again, getting back to the cycles. It's cyclical. So whether you believe in reincarnation or you simply believe that that you have just as much a connection with your fetal self, basically, in the womb, to as much connection to that self now as you did then. You just may not be able to tap into it as easily, because we have all these messages and a lot of things that are sort of put on us, how you're supposed to behave, how you're supposed to think, what you're supposed to be thinking about, what your day is supposed to look like, how you dress, all these things, these guidelines, but if you could strip all of that away, and you can, when you meditate or sometimes if you're listening to a glorious piece of music or something like this, there are moments, and everybody has them, whether they notice them or not, where you can tap into something that is underneath or above, however you want to put it. It's not a hierarchy. All of the messages and scripts and the social fabric that you grew up with, and I don't even remember what you asked me. You asked me about journey.
You're actually popping, so the next question is going to be even more of a popper. Are you ready?
I am so ready.
What is your psychic ability?
Ooh, My psychic ability. Well, I am very empathic, so I have, I can sort of tap into the emotions and feelings of those around me, but I can't necessarily, it can be difficult to know what I'm tapping into. And it can also be difficult to know what to do with that, because often if the other person isn't aware of what they're projecting, it can be hard being the person on the other end who is picking this up. But, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now these are things that are coming up, and they identify who you are and stuff. What is stubborn courage? Stubborn courage mean to you?
Stubborn courage. That's interesting. Well, let's see. Stubborn, unyielding, unchanged. Not wanting to change. Courage. Courage. So, I'm trying to figure out how you put those two together.
It came up.
Courage. So courage is your.
I got it from you, Naya.
You got it from me. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna breathe here for a second and sit with it for just a second.
Be gentle with the earth.
Got it. Okay. So I have no idea what I got, but I got it. So I'm just gonna let it flow out of here. So courage, strength, specifically strength when you're faced with something that's scary or dangerous, or so bravery, that sort of thing. Grit, isn't that the word people are using these days? And then, but stubborn basically means that you're even when maybe you shouldn't be brave necessarily or fearless, that's still a part of who you are. And that definitely connects, because so I've had a lot of different experiences in my life, as anyone has, and some of them have been more positive than others, shall we say. And through all of those, especially the traumatic experiences, but through all of my experiences, I've sort of had to figure out, I wouldn't call myself fearless at all, but on the other hand, putting a brave face, and being strong, and not dwelling in a place of pain when you really don't have time for that, or you don't have it doesn't feel safe to do that. Now, the stubborn piece of that, though, is that those techniques served a purpose, were helpful, useful at a certain point in time, actually many different points in time in my life. However, once the danger is gone, it can be hard to rewire the brain, to convince yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, metaphysically, all these different ways in which you perceive the world. It can be tough to sort of say, hey, no, all those experiences that you have learned to respond to aren't necessarily there anymore. Because, so learning how to do that has been. You asked about journey. Well, that's definitely a large part of my journey. Has been sort of
Naya?
reframing things. Yes.
Naya.
Yes, Mark.
You're definitely spot on over here. I'm seeing also, what does aha moments mean to you, or have to do with you? Aha moment. Do you know what an aha moment is, right?
Of course. Yes. I have lots of aha moments, as you can attest to, because a lot of them happen on WhatsApp lately. Yeah, no, I've been having a fair number of those just in the past, 6 weeks or whatever it is. I don't know. So an aha moment for me is basically, it's actually the best way to describe it is it's that moment when I desperately need a pen and paper right that exact moment so I can write down whatever it is that came to me. Because aha moments for me is an idea. It could be as simple as a word. It could be as long as a whole, story. Or it could even be a memory that is seen in a completely different light all of a sudden. Yeah, so it's the light bulb. It's the, oh, so that's what it is. So that's what's going on, or that's what's important to me, or that's what I'm thinking about, or that's who I am. I mean, lately it's been a lot of aha moments in terms of my vision, in terms of figuring out who I am, where I am in my journey, and what's important to me, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, Naya? Are you having fun?
I am having fun, yes.
Yeah, are you liking the call? Are we onto something over here?
Yes, I think we're definitely onto something.
What do the words astrology, numerology, tarot reader, or I Ching, or oracle, any of those resonate with you?
Well, let's see. I don't know very much about tarot, but I do have a set of cards.
Amazing.
Why is it? Yes, yeah.
I'm pulling words out,
yeah.
and pulling them out of and having be a part of you. Oddly enough, what about hunches?
Hunches. Well, that's when. So a hunch is just. I mean, that's sort of the common way of saying you've connected to your intuition, right? I mean.
Wow. Intuition, something that comes up for you a lot.
We're back to intuition, yeah.
We're back in intuition. In fact, what about insight?
Insight. So insight can be internal or external. Insight is what you get from tapping into your intuition, for example. That could be an insight, or more likely it's going to be multiple insights, but details. But insight could also be you connecting with another person. Like right now, I would say there's both of that, because I feel like I'm more connected to you. This is the first time we're sort of doing a chat like this, but specifically this chat has just been, So anyway, so there's, and that's giving me insight into myself, but also into you and into our connection as, fellow travelers.
It's your psychic ability.
Yes.
You have this ability, and it's coming out in you because you haven't really been too much aware of it. Do you know? I was talking about this with Tom before, but I don't have kids, but I've been around kids, and one thing I do remember when I was a kid was making believe.
Mm-hmm.
What does making believe? What did you make believe, or do you make believe in your life?
Yes, well, I have. It's funny, I'm not going to use this phrase too much anymore, but I used to tell people, mostly because they used to tell me a lot, that I have an overactive imagination. I've decided I'm not going to use this phrase too much anymore because it's really goofy. I mean, what does that mean, overactive? Is it a problem? I mean, no. So, make-believe to me is basically exploring possibilities. And I believe in the multiverse. I believe that there are, an infinite number of combinations of all the things that make our universe, and so that you could have, in any given moment, all of the different possibilities of what could happen in that moment. I believe that they exist. Not necessarily physically in that moment, but they exist. And so, you can, within yourself, you can sort of tap into that by just saying, okay, what's possible? And imagining all these different outcomes or all these different things that could possibly happen. And that's just one kind of make-believe. I mean, obviously make-believe can go far beyond that, and that's how we end up with such amazing advances in technology, because people can make believe, people can imagine, they can take their minds to a place that takes all the elements that we have now, but reconfigures them in a way that people just, haven't thought of before, or haven't thought of in that specific way, etc. So anyway, imagination.
All right.
Yeah.
We're actually doing very well over here, and I'm having a lot of fun because we're getting to know Naya for who she is, and Naya is a person who has many good powers, psychic abilities. She's a journey person, and she definitely has a very, very good ability to connect within. And what does self-judgment and wounds have to deal with you?
Oof. Okay. So self-judgment is basically the complex mix of my past experiences, almost personified in a way, because they become a sort of running dialogue. Well, it's not a dialogue. Dialogue implies that it's two beings communicating on a equal level. It's more, but again, this is getting back to the script. It's this automatic, the automatic messages that I'm telling myself about who I am, what I'm capable of, what's likely to happen, how I should interact with people, how I should integrate all the different experiences that I have into myself, into my own experience, my own perception of reality. And, but not in a healthy way, not in a way that taps into my core self, not in a way that aligns with my vision or aligns with my intuition. So the self-judgment is the script. The self-judgment is, and it's not, to say that it's negative versus positive is kind of, to me that feels too reductionist. It's not that simple, because some of the things that are included in that could be true. Sometimes there are things that are based in fact, but it's not being presented. I'm not presenting it to myself, if you will, in a way that is healthy, that is productive, that will lead to an outcome that I would choose. You see what I'm saying? So the script can be so tricky, because it can sort of, it can be this self-talk, this self-judgment, this all these different messages that are underneath everything. And sometimes those messages sound reasonable. They sound like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yes, I'm getting frustrated right now. I'm not, but I'm saying that could be. And you're saying, and so you feel like, or you're going farther than that. Maybe it's a situation where it seems perfectly reasonable for you to be frustrated. You get cut off, driving into work, for example. It's perfectly socially acceptable to be frustrated at that exact moment. Everybody knows that's what you do, right? You get frustrated. Maybe you get into a road rage kind of mindset. I don't know. But my point being, that, that's not self-judgment per se, but it's comes out of that, right? Because it's like you have these messages that aren't yours, that you didn't choose, and yet you're telling yourself these things. So my example of how you respond when you get cut off on the road is merely to say, well, that's an example of where instead of following these external messages, you can sort of be gentle with yourself and say, okay, what would I choose in this moment? And what's important to me? And what would I gain by responding this way versus responding that way? And sometimes that helps. Most of the time that helps, because the self-judgment, the script, whatever it is, it doesn't terribly like when you turn it back on itself, right? So when you reframe the things that you're telling yourself, the negative things that you're telling yourself, like, for example, what's an example, I guess? I am sure that after this call is over, there's going to be a little voice in my head that says, something goofy about how, like, maybe when I was talking about the multiverse, for example, I kept thinking I could be saying so much more. Like, why am I being so vague about it? I think I was holding myself back when I was talking about the multiverse, and I don't know why. I really don't, but I do know that that's part of the self-judgment, because underneath that, I'm sort of like noticing and being aware, and I'm noticing that underneath all that is kind of like a you don't know what you're talking about sort of message, something in that vein. And so that's what you're that's the self-judgment piece of it. And reframing that is, well, for one thing, this format is really perfect for me because, you just sort of, like, we talked beforehand a little bit, but there wasn't like this preamble of, this is what we expect from this call, and these are the questions I'm going to ask you, which can often just help my script just settle down, bring in its own chair and sit up and say, hey, I'm here, let's do this, But the way you set up this call, apparently my script didn't feel like it was welcome in the room.
That's the whole point. I'm having tea with Naya, not with the script. Well, Naya, this has been a most awesome call, and I have to say I'm very pleased with my guest. I had asked Naya to metaphysically pick a crystal, and crystals are energy, and it kind of like the crystal sometimes picks us because there's an attachment to us, an identification of us. And Naya had picked a crystal called sodalite. She told me a color, purple. And
Mm.
for some reason, when I went to grab
Mhm.
a purple crystal, I have a few purple crystals. I chose sodalite, and
Mhm.
Naya said she had a different crystal, which I felt, but I went back to this one because it identified with Naya by holding it, and I asked the questions based upon my observations from the energy received from the crystal. And I want to read something to you because this is going to be something that I really think you'll identify with. Sodalite
Mhm.
evokes images from deep within the subconscious,
Okay.
enabling one to perceive one's core lessons in this lifetime and to
Mm.
understand where one is on the path to completing them. I'll read it again for you, okay? Sodalite evokes images from deep within the subconscious, enabling one to perceive one's core lessons in this lifetime and to understand where one is on the path to completing them. Sodalite helps one perceive where one's path lies. It acts as a signpost of one's personal journey, helping one become immersed in the experience of spiritual growth without obsessing on the magic tricks that can go with one's awakening. I think that about explains what we talked about here, Naya, right? Did I lose Naya? We had lost Naya, so let me see if I can get her back. But in this broadcast, I've been I want to just make sure that the guest, the talk is about the person and I'm actually with, and I'm just helping the people become more aware of their inner selves.
Mark,
So, Naya, you back?
I'm back. I
What
don't know what happened.
what part did I lose you at, Naya?
Halfway through the second reading of
All right,
Sodalite.
I'm gonna read this to you again.
Okay.
Sodalite helps one helps Sodalite helps one perceive where one's path lies. It acts as a signpost on one's personal journey, helping one become immersed in the experience of spiritual growth without obsessing on the magic tricks that can go with one's awakening. And that pretty much, I mean, I
What?
really suggest that you look into sodalite.
I will.
Sodalite is spelled Sodalite.
Okay.
You should buy one of those crystals, and I think they should wear it. Maybe as an like you could buy like charms that go around your neck or whatever. I have one.
Mhm.
I have black tourmaline that I wear around
Mm.
my neck.
Mhm.
Yeah, let me see if I could, turn the camera on over here for a second, and I'll put me on. And this one right here, I wear
Oh,
this
oh
every day.
yeah.
It's black tourmaline. It's for
That's really
protection.
pretty. That's good.
I think you should probably get, I mean, it's my suggestion. It's your choice to do. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read.
Well,
I'm gonna read your affirmation.
okay,
Okay.
but I have a story to tell you.
Yes, I'm gonna read your affirmation first,
Yep.
and then you're gonna tell me a story. But listen to your affirmation because I want you to tell us why you chose this affirmation.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Nice. Affirmation. My mind is fully awakened in all levels and working at its highest capacity. Wow, Naya, that's freaking crazy stuff. Let me say it again. My mind is fully awakened on all levels and working at its highest capacity. You're on.
Wow. My mind is fully awakened. Wait, no. I thought I had it fully awakened in all capacities.
On all
Is that it?
levels.
On all levels. Okay.
And working at the highest capacity.
And working at the highest capacity. Wow. Wow. Okay. Oh my goodness. So this is, I was about to say I'm nowhere near that, but that's not what I choose. What I choose is that that's what that's sort of, I don't believe that there's an end point, as I said, on my journey, but that's what I'm headed towards, if you will. And I feel like, I do feel like that's where I'm headed. Awareness is definitely expanding and growing and reforming in so many different ways. And, oh boy, wow. That's really special.
Naya?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been a most awesome talk. We've been talking for quite a while. I think we got to know you, and, you know, what do you have, like a message to say to people that are listening right now? Like something that, you know, like, here's a scenario, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna explain to you the scenario, and I want you to come from a place in the scenario of reality, and it's in the present time now, and or it's going to be in a time in the future. Somebody is going to be listening to this recording, and somebody will be in whatever situation in life that it is. You don't know who they are. You just know who you are right now, and you could be talking to somebody in the future, obviously, or in the present, and somebody's listening to this recording at this very moment. And you don't know what they're going through because you're just talking to anybody, you know? So what kind of, like, message would you say to people that would, you know, that resonates with you, that you would choose for people that are listening to this recording right now, that, you know what, that might give them that aha moment? Because you got a lot of aha moments. So what word of advice would you give to somebody listening to this recording this very moment, in the recording, so someone's actually listening to this, and they're at this part right now where you and I are actually talking and listening to us having this dialogue right now, and the question I pose to you is, what kind of advice should you give to somebody that's listening to this very important, you know, very moment in the recording about aha moments?
Okay, well, greeting, whoever you are. What I would want you to take away, I guess, is basically finding your own path towards greater awareness of who you are, what you're capable of, what your connections are to the rest of the world, the universe, and being gentle with yourself. Because there are going to be setbacks in life. There always will be. But that's not what defines us. What defines us is how we respond. How do we live in each moment in such a way that we chose what we're thinking, we chose what we're feeling, or at the very minimum, we chose how we're going to let the things that are happening to us, our surroundings, our environment, how are we going to let those things become a part of us? Because they will become a part of us. That just is. But you can choose how. You can choose to integrate the experiences of your life into your existence in a way that you choose, that you feel is right, that vibrates with your very core, that aligns with your vision, aligns with your intuition. Whatever language works for you, whatever path works for you. I mean, that's what I wish for everyone. So.
Is that the message of awesomeness from our own Naya? Naya!
Yes, Mark.
You are awesome.
Oh, Mark, you are awesome.
And I really have enjoyed this conversation with Naya. Naya is a very, I'll tell you something, she's actually very inspiring to myself. And when I hear Naya or I read Naya's words, I do get inspired. And it's very moving, and I'm very honored and humbled to be in, conversation with Naya right now. I think that she's a very wonderful woman, has very great words to share with everybody, and it's been a most enjoyable, conversation. So we're going to conclude tonight's episode with Tea with Naya. She gave everybody some wonderful words, and I'm going to shut off. Stay on, while we shut off, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
I'm shutting off